What else was happening in Muskoka in the late 19th century? At the time the Muskoka Lakes Association was established in 1894, Muskoka was already famous as a tourist destination in Canada and the United States. Dozens of hotels welcomed thousands of tourists each year, and hundreds of cottages dotted the shorelines of the lakes. But tourism and cottaging was not the only thing happening in Muskoka at the end of the 19th century. For hundreds of years prior to the arrival of Europeans, the Anishinaabe peoples of south-central Ontario spent part of every year in Muskoka, hunting and trapping. Muskoka's First Nations did not disappear with white resettlement. Most of Muskoka's First Nations had not been included in the 1850 Robinson-Huron Treaty. Not until the 1923 Williams Treaty were their rights to Muskoka acknowledged. During that time, Indigenous peoples continued to return to Muskoka to pursue opportunities presented by tourism. Women and their children sold crafts, while men worked as hunting and fishing guides. Many made a good living at this work. In 1889, for example, 5 years before the MLA was founded, an Indian agent for Rama reported that some guides earned as much as $60 per month. Further back from the lakes, tourists engaged in agriculture, logging, and tanning, activities which cottagers and tourists rarely witnessed. It might be hard to believe, but tourism emerged at almost the same time as agriculture and logging in Muskoka. Settlers who took up land unsuited to farming often abandoned their lots. Those who stayed experimented with different crops and discovered the best way to use their land. Living close to the lakes presented opportunities for farmers to produce fresh vegetables, eggs, dairy, and meat, which they sold to hotels and cottagers. Further inland, farmers grew oats, potatoes, and hay, and sold them to lumber camps. Those next to the shore built and repaired cottages, cut ice for ice houses, and chopped firewood. In the backwoods, many settlers sold their labor to logging camps. Most early MLA members never saw the work that loggers performed in Muskoka, yet tourists and cottagers occasionally confronted the consequences of logging operations. On occasion, MLA members encountered other signs of logging, such as steamboats towing enormous booms of logs. Just a few years before the MLA was founded, in April 1889, residents of Bracebridge complained that logs obstructed navigation and mail delivery, and campers sometimes found it impossible to traverse the river and reported having to turn back. Those who made it to Bracebridge passed another important part of Muskoka's local economy: the twin tanneries of the Muskoka Leather Company and Shaw Castles and Company, later renamed the Anglo-Canadian Leather Company. These industries processed tens and later hundreds of thousands of hides per year. The tanneries operated in Muskoka because nature's generous supply of hemlock trees provided the bark used in tanning leather. Rarely, though, did tourists or cottagers witness the tanning process itself. But quite often, scows piled high with hemlock barks were visible around the lakes. Muskoka featured a variety of economic activities at the end of the 19th century. But by 1894, tourism and cottaging provided the logic for the creation of the Muskoka Lakes Association, which worked to protect Muskoka for future generations.